Have you ever felt stuck when your partner goes silent, refusing to respond even though you've poured out your heart? Have you wondered what triggers them to freeze in the middle of an argument and how you can break down that invisible wall? In today's video, we'll dive deep into the root of stonewalling, how some people resort to shutting down instead of facing conflict, and discover the secret to becoming a safe partner who listens, empathizes, and nurtures a lasting connection. First, you'll gain a clear understanding that stonewalling isn't merely silence. It's a defense mechanism born from deep-seated shame and fear of judgment. By learning to recognize your body's warning signs, racing heart, chest tightness, or a trembling voice, you'll empower yourself to pause the debate and cool down, rather than letting emotion drive your actions. Then, I'll walk you through the 4-step boundary protection technique: naming your emotion, requesting a 30-minute break, practicing validation, and planning conflict resolution when you're calm. You'll master the art of self-compassion, acknowledging and accepting your feelings, and cultivate the habit of pause, breathe, return, to shift from a triggered state to proactive regulation. Not only that, but we'll also craft a conflict script, together using eye contact signals, compassionate language, and gentle touch, so both of you can battle in a safe, respectful, and connected way. If you're ready to elevate your relationship, turning every disagreement into an opportunity for understanding and growth, keep your eyes glued to the screen. Hit subscribe and ring the notification bell right now so you don't miss a single golden insight. Watch until the end of the video, and you'll uncover simple but transformative steps that can save your love, bridge the distance, and build a truly enduring connection. In any tense conversation, when one person suddenly falls silent, their face goes blank, eyes fixed on the floor or glued to their phone screen, repeatedly murmuring, "I don't know," as a default response, you are witnessing stonewalling, an invisible barrier that blocks every attempt at communication, understanding, and connection. Stonewalling is not merely silence. It is an extreme self-defense tactic born from the deepest wells of shame and fear. Fear of criticism, fear of not being good enough, fear that genuine emotions will be wielded as weapons to crush one's spirit. Rather than confronting disagreement, the stonewaller chooses to freeze all expression, rendering any explanation or inquiry utterly futile, because when the mind rejects pain, it no longer has the energy to listen, to empathize, or to share. According to the renowned research of Dr. John Gottman, who observed thousands of couples over many years, stonewalling alongside 4 other negative patterns, defensiveness, criticism, contempt, and disdain, constitutes the 4 horsemen that predict up to a 90% chance of marital breakdown. This illustrates that once the wall of silence is erected, every seed of genuine dialogue withers, and love can quickly become imprisoned in an unspoken void. As someone who respects themselves, I refuse to be abandoned in the dark of apathy. I deserve to be heard, to be respected, and to feel safe when I share my thoughts. Understanding the true nature of stonewalling not only allows us to recognize the physical warning, signs, racing heart, tense shoulders, a constricted throat, but also helps us affirm our own worth by setting boundaries. I respect you, but if this silence continues, I will pause our conversation so we both have time to calm down. This is not a barrier to connection. It is a powerful signal that shows you value the relationship enough not to let conflict become an irreparable rupture. When we dare to acknowledge that stonewalling is far from harmless and is, in fact, an alarm bell for both parties, that is precisely when our self-respect is preserved and our partner realizes, to be heard, they must step past the wall of silence rather than keep building it higher. Remember, you not only deserve to be loved, but you also deserve to be treated with full respect and sincerity, and that is the first commitment to dismantling any barrier and rebuilding a sustainable bridge of communication. Now that we have grasped that stonewalling erects an invisible wall of silence born from shame, fear of judgment, and inner insecurity, let's delve into part 2. The negative impact of this phenomenon on both individuals and relationships. Stonewalling is far more than simply hitting the mute button during an argument. It sows confusion, abandonment, and even betrayal in the heart of the other person. Imagine opening your heart, sharing your longing for closeness, your need to be heard and respected, only to be met with cold silence or a detached, "I don't know." In that moment, you feel as if your home has been abandoned. No light, no warmth, only desolation and chaos. Right from the start, the sense of safety, the very foundation of any connection, shakes violently. The stonewaller isn't just losing the ability to communicate, they are inadvertently sending the message, "You don't matter. Your feelings don't deserve attention." Over time, that silence transforms into a wound, causing the other person to question themselves. Did I do something wrong? Am I not good enough? This repeated self-doubt becomes a dark melody, stirring anxiety, eroding self-esteem, and planting seeds of mistrust in one's own worth. In fact, numerous relationship psychology studies show that stonewalling not only corrodes intimacy, but also triggers a physiological stress response. When we experience silent treatment, our heart rate can spike, blood rushes to the head, and muscles tense, all indicators that the brain is sounding the alarm, danger detected. Much like a fight or flight reaction, the stifling response from the other side traps us in a freeze state, leaving us paralyzed and hopeless. The long-term consequence is a negative feedback loop. When one person stonewalls, the other is forced to break the silence by escalating, raising their voice, resorting to criticism, or seeking comfort outside the relationship from friends, family, or other sources. The result, emotional distance deepens, trust shatters, and instead of forging a resilient bond, both parties are driven further apart. Broadening our view, stonewalling carries severe psychological repercussions. The recipient may develop anxiety, depression, or even PTSD after enduring repeated rejection. The lack of positive feedback leads them to question their own value, withdraw from meaningful conversations, and ultimately shut down to protect themselves, perpetuating the cycle. The more they fear rejection, the more they remain silent, and the more silent they remain, the deeper their fear grows. From a relationship standpoint, stonewalling spells the end for honest communication, the cornerstone that allows us to understand one another, resolve conflicts, and nurture love. When we can't express our emotions and essential needs, the relationship withers like a tree in a desert. Unresolved conflicts accumulate, only to explode in future confrontations that are intense and uncontrollable. That is precisely why we must confront stonewalling as a harmful, unacceptable behavior. Respecting ourselves means refusing to be locked in silence, reclaiming our right to be loved, understood, and connected. Treat the wall of silence as a mirror. When your partner retreats into silence, that is your moment to stand firm, defend your needs, and speak up. Instead of sinking into quiet despair, have the courage to say, "I feel hurt when I don't receive a response. I deserve to share and be understood. If the silence continues, I need to pause for my well-being and the health of our relationship." Only when every participant acknowledges stonewalling's destructive effects can we collaboratively dismantle this invisible barrier. This is not merely about saving one argument. It is about restoring trust, reigniting genuine connection, and giving the relationship the chance to flourish in strength and stability. Having clearly identified the painful consequences that stonewalling inflicts, from feelings of emptiness, confusion, and insecurity to deep wounds in self-esteem and trust, the next question we must ask is, what drives a person to erect that wall of silence in the first place? Here, we step into part 3, the root in the avoidant individual. The avoidant partner, those with an avoidant attachment style, often lives under the persistent shadow of shame and the fear of being deemed not good enough, unworthy of love. They have learned to freeze as an involuntary self-defense reflex whenever they sense tension or threat. It is akin to a survival mechanism. Rather than switch to fight or flight mode, they default to mentally and emotionally freezing, hoping that the outside world cannot hurt them any further. If we rewind to childhood, we frequently discover that many avoidant individuals grew up in emotionally unsafe environments. Each time they expressed themselves with a tear or a sigh, they were harshly judged, emotionally punished by being ignored, scolded, or isolated in silence. Those psychological wounds are not merely memories, but are etched into the nervous system, reshaping how the brain reacts to conflict and surges of emotion. As these individuals mature, they carry an ingrained horror that vulnerability is dangerous. You must not show emotions if you wish to avoid rejection, leading to a diminished capacity for internal regulation. They struggle to label their feelings and are even more lost when it comes to sharing them in a healthy way. Moreover, avoidants frequently wrestle with the pervasive belief of, "I am not worthy," a message absorbed from parents, caregivers, or societal environments, where the ideal of a successful person means never showing weakness, always being strong and in control. Consequently, when conflict arises, their fragile inner world becomes overwhelmed, and the shutdown response feels like the only secure answer: total silence. Yet paradoxically, in that silence, they unintentionally impose guilt on their partners, driving relationships toward further estrangement and coldness. Understanding the avoidant root is not merely an excavation of the past, but the crucial first step toward empathy and healing. When we recognize that behind the wall of silence lies a soul that has once been forsaken and has learned to protect itself by numbing feelings, we can truly step into their shoes, empathize with their fear of insecurity and the absence of understanding. Simultaneously, the avoidant individual must confront past wounds, permit themselves to feel every heartbeat and subtle emotion, and seek methods of self-regulation, from breathing techniques to emotion, journaling, and gradually sharing with a trusted confidant. When both partners join hands in this journey, the wall of stonewalling no longer stands as the final refuge, but remains a relic of the past, something to be recognized, dismantled, and replaced by a new form of communication rooted in genuineness, trust, and mutual respect. And now, having fully understood the origins of stonewalling rooted in shame, fear of judgment, and past wounds in the avoidant partner, the next step in the healing journey is to explore how a securely attached individual responds and transforms those silences into opportunities for reconnection. The secure person's reaction is not merely an instantaneous reflex, but the fruit of a consistent mindset, maintaining respect, communicating clearly, and demonstrating a desire to understand and empathize. First and foremost, even when the other side remains silent and the wall of invisibility seems immovable, the secure person upholds absolute respect. They resist the urge to unleash harsh words, scoffing remarks, or reciprocal silence. Instead, they recognize that any aggressive language or mocking attitude only adds fuel to the fire, further driving their partner into emotional seclusion. By speaking in a calm tone, making sincere eye contact, and adopting an open posture, they send the message: even if you stay silent, I still value you in this relationship. That stance lays the groundwork for any future dialogue. Next, the secure individual exhibits clear, structured communication. Rather than allowing the situation to continue undefined, they take the initiative to set pause and resume rules. For example, they might say, "I cannot continue this conversation if stonewalling persists. If you go silent again, I need 30 minutes to collect myself before we resume." Such a statement serves two crucial purposes. First, it establishes a clear boundary what is acceptable and what is not. Second, it opens a designated cooling-off window, giving both parties a chance to soothe their emotions, reorganize their thoughts, and recalibrate. Implementing a pause and return mechanism like this prevents conflicts from spiraling out of control and respects each person's need for emotional safety. Finally, the secure partner doesn't just yearn to be heard, they strongly desire genuine understanding and empathy. They apply the validation technique not to agree wholesale with their partner's points, but to affirm that their partner's emotions are valid and deserve attention. For instance, when the partner returns after the break, they might say, "I understand you felt hurt and didn't want to continue earlier. Your feelings about this matter deeply to me, and I want to understand more about what caused your pain." When the partner shares their private thoughts, The secure individual refrains from immediately rebutting or defending themselves. Instead, they listen attentively, ask open questions to encourage deeper sharing, and confirm, "Could you tell me more about the moment you felt abandoned? I really want to grasp precisely what hurt you." N. Through this approach, the partner realizes they are accepted and safe to express emotions without fear of being shut down or punished. Mutual respect solidifies, and silence ceases to be a weapon but becomes a meaningful pause for healing. Another key aspect is that the secure person ensures consistency between words and actions. If they've agreed to 30 minutes, they genuinely use that time to meditate, take deep breaths, or journal their feelings, rather than stewing in resentment or brooding. When the time is up, they return punctually, ready to continue the conversation with calmness, seriousness, and openness. Keeping this promise not only rebuilds trust, but also proves that taking a break is not avoidance, but a path to effective, healthy communication. In summary, the secure person's response to stonewalling exemplifies emotional resilience. They maintain respect even in the face of silence, establish clear communication protocols to avoid the conflict trap, and express their desire to understand and empathize through validation. By doing so, they protect their own self-respect and right to be heard, while illuminating a path for their avoidant partner, anyone at risk of withdrawing, to realize that the silent wall is not the end, but a milestone at which they can pause, breathe evenly, and continue together toward authentic, lasting connection. Building on the secure partner's exemplary responses to stonewalling, we now arrive at the pivotal section that empowers each individual to proactively master their own emotional regulation. Self-regulation solutions. First and foremost, the critical step is identifying emotional imbalance cues. As an argument escalates, our bodies send very clear warning signs. The heart begins to race, breathing becomes shallow, the voice may grow tense or louder, palms start to sweat, or shoulders tighten. These are not signs of weakness, but primal survival cues, indicating that you are experiencing emotional overload. Rather than feeling ashamed or forcing yourself to tough it out, treat these signals as your body's language, asking for a pause to protect your mental and physical well-being. The moment you notice these cues, you can proactively pause by requesting a short break. "I notice my heart is racing and my mind is spiraling. I need 20-30 minutes to breathe, cool down, and return focused." Making this pause proposal isn't shirking responsibility. It's a strategic way to prevent the conflict from exceeding safe boundaries. During the 20-30 minute interlude, you can take a gentle walk around the room, perform simple stretching exercises, or focus on breath work with the 4 to 7 -8 technique. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds. These small adjustments shift your autonomic nervous system toward the parasympathetic state, soothing the fight or flight response and allowing you to come back in a calmer, collected mindset. Next, an indispensable element in self-regulation is practicing self-compassion. Upon realizing that you feel fear or shame in the conversation, give yourself permission to say, "I feel scared and ashamed right now. I have the right to feel these emotions, but I won't let them dictate my behavior." This affirmation is not merely internal cheerleading. It's a powerful tool to reduce self-judgment. You're acknowledging your authentic self, complete with vulnerabilities, rather than trying to mask or deny them. Self-compassion enables you to engage with negative emotions without turning them into adversaries, opening the door to choosing the most constructive responses, such as relaxing your shoulders, continuing deep breathing, or jotting down your turbulent thoughts. During the break, consider keeping an emotional journal, listing 3 feelings you're experiencing. For example, "I feel powerless. I feel afraid of losing connection. I feel insecure." Writing these down helps you separate the emotion from impulsive behavior, transforming them into objective signals rather than a nebulous cloud commandeering your mind. Then ask yourself, what's causing my sense of powerlessness? What can I do to regain control? Such questions redirect you towards solutions rather than trapping you in a cycle of negativity. Finally, when the pause is over, you return to the conversation with revitalized composure. Start by briefly sharing your self-regulation process. Thank you for giving me the space. I noticed my tension, practiced deep breathing, and journaled my feelings. Now, I'm ready to listen again. This announcement not only signals to your partner that you've managed your emotions, but also conveys mutual respect. You cherish the dialogue and establish a standard for maintaining a safe space during conflicts. When these self-regulation techniques become habitual, you enhance your emotional self-mastery and reduce the avoidant partner's temptation to stonewall, because when you remain calm, the avoidant partner senses that emotional safety is possible and gradually learns not to freeze. The relationship shifts from a harmful loop of silence escalation to a healthy cycle of recognition, pause, empathy, connection, forging a new pathway for sincere communication, protected self-respect, and unwavering authenticity. Continuing from the self-regulation strategies, the next essential task is planning ahead and practicing with your partner so that when a real conflict arises, both of you have a clear action map instead of being lost in emotional waves. First, pick a calm moment, definitely not during an argumento. Sit together and discuss the recognition signals. This could be a light wave, a code phrase like, "We need a break," or simply placing a hand on the shoulder to indicate the need to pause. Next, agree on explicit pause rules. For instance, whenever one person feels their heart racing, mind spinning, or voice rising in pitch, they have the right to halt the conversation for 20-30 minutes without interrogation or criticism. During that break, each of you can practice self-care by taking deep breaths, walking around, or quickly jotting down the emotions you're experiencing. When the break is over, the person who requested it should take the initiative to check in with, "Are you ready?" to ensure the other is indeed composed. Equally important is the reconnection ritual after the pause. Agree on small gestures like making eye contact for a few seconds, placing a hand on each other's arm or shoulder, and, where appropriate, injecting a bit of gentle humor to lighten the mood. For example, a wrinkled eye smile or a joke like, "I'm back as a calm warrior," can swiftly dispel tension and signal goodwill, encouraging your partner to reopen. In every gesture, both individuals' self-respect is upheld. You honor the resting space and, at the same time, do not abandon your partner, creating a safe environment for continued dialogue. Crucially, the goal is not to avoid conflict, since every relationship has disagreements, but to fight in a safe state with full respect while maintaining connection. Once you've practiced and adhered to the plan, you will find that conflict transforms from a life or death battle into a constructive exchange, where every emotion is acknowledged and every boundary respected. Repeating this script after each dispute turns stress into positive energy. Instead of fearing silence or losing composure, you both regard it as an opportunity to exercise communication skills, strengthen trust, and nurture your bond. Finally, to ensure the plan remains effective, schedule regular evaluations and adjustments. After each conflict, take a few calm minutes to ask, which parts of the script worked well? Were there any signals that were unclear? Did our reconnection gestures foster safety? With each iteration, the plan becomes more fine-tuned to both of your personalities and needs. Through continuous practice, the reflex to pause, breathe, take a break, and return with respect will become second nature, forging a solid communication foundation for every relationship. We've now walked through every aspect of stonewalling, from its definition and negative impact to its avoidant roots, how a secure partner responds, self-regulation techniques, and proactive planning with reconnection. Each step underscores one essential truth. Communication isn't just speaking, it's listening, understanding, and mutual respect. By setting boundaries, pausing to restore yourself, and returning with kindness, you safeguard your own worth while creating a safe space for your partner to truly open up. Remember, conflict isn't the enemy, but an opportunity for both of you to reflect, uncover deeper motivations, and rebuild trust. Fighting safely through agreed break signals, validation, and reconnection gesturesis, the only way to dismantle the wall of silence and forge a strong bridge of intimacy. Over time, the pause, breathe, return reflex becomes a habit, turning every heated exchange into a chance for growth. If you found these insights helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss upcoming videos. Share your experiences in the comments. Which step will you take first on this journey of connection? Thank you for watching. Until the end, let's take these courageous steps together and transform every silence into a bridge of love.